Well, Ed, here we are again.
Yes, sir.
We did this a couple of years or months ago, and I think the public doesn't understand and appreciate your program. So talk about Olli at UNLV and tell us what it does, et cetera, and then during the rest of the week we'll get into the specifics.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Jim, for having us again. It's absolutely a pleasure to talk about Olli. I used to say that it was the best kept secret in Las Vegas, but it isn't anymore. We have over 1,000 members now. And when you ask me, what is it? It's a place where people can come who are retired or semi-retired and literally change their lives. And by that I mean there are social aspects to it, there are educational aspects to it, there are trips, there are so many things that we do in Olli. I can give you one example that I think says it all. I have a very dear friend who I've known since I was a child, who rose to be a pretty prominent executive in the firm that he was with, who has been retired now for some time. I visited him in his home, and he had a sign that said, "I used to be somebody." And I laughed just as you did when I saw it the first time. And then it occurred to me, what a sad situation to think that because you're retired, you're no longer somebody. Well, people who come to Olli, they are somebody. They are somebody because they're improving their minds, they're taking a wide variety of subjects, they've got the social aspects of it. In every respect, it enhances your experience and keeps you, frankly, mentally alive, staves off mental illness. It's a terrific program, and boy, I invite every listener that you've got that's going to be seeing this show to come and visit with us. You also asked me about, or didn't ask me, but I'm suggesting to you that I'd like to tell you about its relationship to UNLV. UNLV is our host. They supply the classrooms, the physical facilities that we use, but it's a symbiotic relationship because additionally, we as the members volunteer for all kinds of good work for the university itself. We help with English as a second language. We time athletic events. We volunteer in a variety of ways, and frankly, we contribute monetarily also to various aspects of the foundation and so forth. So it's, as I say, it's a mutually satisfactory arrangement, and UNLV has been wonderful. Technically, Olli stands for OSHA Lifelong Learning in Retirement, or Lifelong Learning Institute to be specific. It was founded by Bernard Osher, and we have received 2 $100,000 grants and a $1 million endowment. So the interest from the endowment along with the tuition is what pays for and supports the program in its entirety.
The range of age, you talked about people that are retired being involved in this. What do you find, that it's from 55 to 80, that sort of thing?
You're not low enough and you're not high enough. Actually, we have members as young as 50 and as old. I have one in a class that I conduct that is 94 years old and comes every single Tuesday. The criteria is essentially to be retired or semi-retired and over 50. So that's the specific of the criteria.
So it doesn't make any difference what profession or what job you had.
No.
It's a question of having something to do that's productive and being involved in the community.
Not only involved in the community, but as I indicated earlier, enhancing your own life experience and your own understanding of the world at large because of the diversity of things that we offer.
You know, I think I've spoken in front of at least, 200 of those people 3 or 4 times, and I'm always really impressed by the fact that they know what's going on in the community, and they really understand what's going on in the community, and they add so much information and advice that's so productive for the community.
Well, the class that you've spoken to specifically is called Soapbox, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but I've been running that class for some 12 years now, and you're right, we run about 165 people in that class, which maxes out the room. We have a different topic every single week, and we have people such as yourself and other luminaries, if I may, that grace our presence with their specific background and knowledge, in addition to addressing topics that are critical to today's news. For instance, this semester we will be doing gun control, we will be doing the health plan, and things of that nature that are current and that are of interest to everybody.
So tomorrow let's talk about the classes you offer.
You got it.
Thanks
I'll be
for
happy
being
to do
here.
it. Thank you so much, Jim.
You know, the people that I've run into in your group are so interested and so interesting, and they seem to want to have such great interest in learning more and participating more in this community, which I think is a wonderful thing. Talk about the classes that you offer and who are the instructors in those.
Sure, I'd be happy to, Jim. Actually, your first assessment is absolutely correct. These are people who come voluntarily. It's interesting to note that there are no tests, there are no grades, there's no homework. So they come for the pure joy of learning and for increasing their knowledge. The diversity of topics that we offer, the classes as you refer to them, are extremely wide. We have over 70 classes this semester coming now into the spring semester. And they range from social activities such as the arts, to the sciences, to current events. We have classes that just deal with, for instance, movies. Every single week there will be a different movie. Sometimes they're about court programs, sometimes they are about musicals. And we have people that conduct these classes who either have, as part of their background in their careers, specific knowledge, or who have researched them extensively. There's no particular criteria for the instructors in terms of their scholastic achievements. They don't have to be an ex-teacher or an ex-professor. They just have to be knowledgeable about the topic, and it has to be something, obviously, that is going to be interesting to the people that attend.
You know, I've taught some classes in various places, and it's very disconcerting to be speaking to a group and have them looking around and not interested, et cetera, et cetera. And the times that I've spoken with your group, they're involved. They want to know more and more about that subject, and it really makes you feel good when you've got that kind of group. Talk more about the enthusiasm of these people.
Well, I tell you, it's easy to talk about the enthusiasm of them because remember, these people all come voluntarily. They're not there to get a grade, they're not there to get a degree, they're coming because they want to be there. And it's particularly interesting that you mention that, Jim, because we occasionally will have professors from the university come in and speak about their particular topic, whether it be education or politics or what have you. And to a person, they tell me afterwards how pleased they are to come, because in their normal classes they've got students that are nodding off, that are disinterested, that are there taking up time and space, and there specifically for the grade. Whereas when they come to our classes, they're there because they want to be, and because they're enthused about the subject, and they want to increase their own knowledge. You're absolutely correct.
You know, and when you start speaking to youngsters, and I don't want to pick on the youngsters, but you start out with the fact that they probably don't know a damn thing about the subject. Whereas with your group, you get a lot of participation back and forth because the group knows something about the subject, certainly has opinions on it, and can certainly discuss it. And that's what's always made me feel so good about the interaction between the teacher and that whole group.
Well, in point of fact, in the classes across the board in Olli, you will find that there are ex-teachers, professors, ex-lawyers, doctors. We literally do have the proverbial, not Indian chief, but American Indians in the group. People from every conceivable background, so that regardless of what the subject matter is, they have some knowledge, if not actual expertise, in what the person who is addressing the group is talking about. It makes it fascinating for everybody, both the people that are attending and for the person that's leading the group.
My recollection, and I may be wrong, was I spoke maybe 30 or 40 minutes, and I assumed that there must, and then I left, maybe you threw me out, but after that I assume that you have some discussion with the group?
Yes, there is always a give and take, a Q&A afterwards. However, you are incorrect in one respect. You spoke the first time, see how quickly it went by. You spoke for a full, didn't speak for 2 hours, but you were there for a full 2 hours. The second time you were there for a full hour. And in both cases there were ample time, or there was ample time for Q&A. That's correct.
I have to tell you, I'm so pleased with this program, and it really disappoints me that more people don't know about it, so maybe we can do a little something about that here.
I'm sure going to try, Jim, and thank you for this opportunity.
Tomorrow, another subject. Now, Ed, is this a true academic program that you have in relationship between you and UNLV? How would you describe it?
Well, my understanding of the word academic is that you have to be a member of an institution of learning. At least that's the description in the dictionary. In terms of it being an academic program, yes, it is, because everybody that comes to it is there to learn, regardless of whether it is, you know, about religion, or whether it is about science, or whether it is about current events, or what have you. They are there for the purpose of learning. So in that respect, it's an academic program. In terms of what most people think of as academics, there are, as I've said in an earlier time in conversation with you, no tests, no grades, and no homework. So there's no academics involved in terms of that aspect of learning in what we normally conceive of as college and you know, university courses. However, in terms of what we are always about when we are taking any kind of class, it is about learning, and it is about enhancing our knowledge. It is about, frankly, enhancing our lives, because one way or another, the mere idea of interacting with other people, hearing what they have to say, learning from somebody who knows something about a specific subject that you may not particularly be well versed in, it all enhances your life.
How do you decide what courses you're going to have? I mean, do the students come to you and say, we'd like to know something about astrology or whatever?
Actually, we do surveys of the group at large. They're taken in every one of the 70-plus classes that we conduct. Incidentally, that's not just at the Paradise campus, but also at 7 satellite locations, so that people who sign up with Olli can find a location relatively close to where they live, whether it's in the Northeast or the Southwest, that they can attend some classes. Once they sign up, they are entitled to go to every single class that we have. So we do a survey, we find out what they're interested in, and to the best of our ability, we offer classes that are going to have a wide attendance rate. But we have some classes, for instance, a language class where people are learning French or learning Spanish, where because of the nature of the class, it will be restricted to 20 students. Other classes that have to do with reviews of movies or reviews of scientific breakthroughs may have large classes, as much as 160, 170 people. So it varies depending upon the topic and the interest in the topic and the necessary requirements for conducting that class.
So how do you recruit your faculty?
Well, I love the word faculty, but we consider ourselves to be coordinators.
All right.
And they're all volunteers. I didn't mention this earlier, but everybody involved in Olli is a volunteer. None of us are paid anything. We do it for the sheer joy of it. So we ask people in the classes, if you're interested, we have a training program that assists them in how to conduct a class, how to make sure that people are not bored by what they're saying, and how to make sure that they are, prepared to properly produce a class that people are going to find interesting. But we do absolutely get our people, our coordinators, from within the Olli program itself. They're all members.
So if I make a suggestion about a course, what's the procedure that you then follow? You do a survey of some sort, then you try to find out who can teach it, and you start from there?
It's basically simpler than that. What happens is people make suggestions and they go to our curriculum chairperson. The curriculum chairperson determines whether or not that is an appropriate class for the Olli program. At that point, they then interview the individual who would like to conduct that class about what their expertise is, what the background that they have is, and how well they're going to be able to produce that class so it's interesting to the people that are attending.
Where do you get the people that teach? I mean, do you get professors or people out of the business community, or how do you go about that?
Well, as I indicated earlier, these people are all members and they come from a variety of backgrounds. They are, in fact, in some cases, ex-professors or ex-teachers, but they may be businessmen, such as myself. They may be people, I'm sorry to be moving the furniture here. They may be people who just have a specific interest that was a lifelong hobby, such as painting or language or something of that nature, but they have to have some expertise or do a lot of research to conduct a class.
So do you find from time to time that you've got somebody in a class and that person has expertise in another area and they come out and start to teach something else?
Absolutely. Absolutely, and we encourage members continuously to volunteer to be coordinators. And then they go through the vetting process, as I say, with a curriculum chairperson who is very, very capable in our case, and to determine whether or not they can adequately conduct a class.
Tomorrow, let's talk about budgets.
You got it. I'd be happy to do that.
Nasty subject.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Jim.
You know, for the last 10 years, I've watched the budget process at UNLV and the other institutions in the higher education system. And of course, it's just shrunk, money-wise, et cetera, et cetera. So they've done away with so many programs. I think there's 790 people that have had to leave the last year. How does that fit with what you do and the services and the information that you can provide?
Well, first of all, let me address what I consider to be the absolutely draconian cuts that were made to UNLV. It's such a fine institution, but we are extraordinarily lucky, I think, to have a guy like, President Neil Smatrisk running the place now, and he has done just an incredible job with the funds that he's had to work with. As far as our program specifically, the Olli program, we do not make any financial demands on UNLV at all. We provide our own funding for everything in terms of our costs. Since it's a volunteer organization, there are no costs for our own internal staffing. We do have 2 employees who are university employees that work full-time for Olli as the intermediary, of course, between Olli and UNLV to get things done like publications and communications and things of that nature. And we pay those costs. So there we also do not impinge or cost the university anything. On the other hand, the university does provide us with space, free of charge, which we are forever grateful for. And the classrooms are used by others also, not exclusively by us, but they do provide us space. They do provide the maintenance for those spaces. We do have free parking at all of our satellite locations, as well as the primary location at the Paradise campus. So it's a give and take. One of the programs that was cut by the university was the 62+ program. And we have reached out to that program and offered them all the opportunity to join Olli if they wish to. I might add at this point, which you might find interesting, that the cost to belong to Olli is $75 a semester, period. That entitles you to attend as many classes as you want. There are no additional charges, whatever. In fact, to make it even a bigger bargain, on an annualized basis, you can go spring, summer, and fall for $150, which saves you the $40 that we normally would charge if you just attended the summer session. So it's $75 per semester for spring and fall, $40 for the summer session, but if you sign up for the year, it's $150 flat.
So if I just wanted to, if I said I'm really bored with life and I want to participate in this as much as I can, am I looking at 5 hours a week I could be out there, or 10 or 20 or 50 or what?
Well, to begin with, I can't imagine you ever being bored, Jim, but I will tell you that the classes are conducted from 10 to 12 and from 1 to 3, 5 days a week. So you could conceivably be there if you wish to for, what is that, for 20 hours a week, actually.
Do you have homework?
No homework, no tests, no grades. Biggest bargain in town, most fun in town.
Is this a program, Ed, that's really grown in the last 5 years?
Yes, the last 5 years have been tremendous growth. We are now in excess of 1,000 members, and we are on track within the next 2 to 3 years to be at 2,000 members. So the growth has been phenomenal. We are forever grateful for that, but we feel that any member who brings a friend is doing that friend the biggest favor they could possibly do, because the program is that good and it literally changes people's lives.
How long do people stay with you? In other words, if I went out there today and signed up, would I expect that, or would you expect that I'd be participating in this for a year or 2 or 5 or 10?
For the rest of your life, because it is that great. You would just stay with it once you got involved.
So you don't have much turnover in effect with students. You just continue to gather more and more and more as you go along.
That is correct, although I must tell you, because of the demographic of retired and semi-retired people, the greatest loss we have is through attrition.
I got you.
Yeah.
All right, tomorrow another subject. Appreciate you being here.
My pleasure, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have how many members?
Well, right now we have just over 1,000 members, and we are on our way to 2,000 members. So thank you for asking, and I'm delighted to say so far, so good.
What do you think the ultimate effect is going to be of this program?
Well, the immediate effect, and this is really the minute people become involved, for instance, by attending one of our open houses, and we'll have an open house this spring semester very shortly, is that they become aware of the social aspect. They're meeting other of their peer, people that have similar interests, people that are interested in enhancing their lives, people that are interested in expanding their knowledge, people that are, I don't want to denigrate what we do here in Las Vegas, but people that are tired of being in casinos or playing cards all the time or sitting home and watching television, they're meeting people who are socially active, socially interesting, and come from an extremely wide variety of backgrounds, so that they are people that are, as I say, interesting. So that's the first effect. Long term, the effect is that they find that they will make friendships, not just social contacts, but friendships and in the various classes. In the class that I conduct, I think I know probably 80 or 90 people by name that I can call on when they have questions about various topics that we've been presenting.
I would think that there'd be a lot of political discussion among all these people.
There is a tremendous amount of political discussion. As an example, this past semester, we had, actually in our class, we had Shelley Berkeley, we had Dean Heller, we had Dina Titus. In the past, as you know, you have been kind enough to grace our lectern. So we have talked about education, we have talked about, I've had Pat Mulroy talking about the water problems in Las Vegas. Yes, we have a wide variety of people that address us, as well as members, you know, pursuing their own interests and adding their own interest, not just in terms of the particular subject, but their knowledge generally to enhance the program.
Do you find that when somebody joins and participates in one of these things that they tend to become more involved in the community?
Absolutely, because part of what we do and part of our chapter, our charter, pardon me, is to volunteer both in the community and at the university. And for instance, we have many people who are involved in the English as a Second Language program at the university. We have people who volunteer at athletic events. We have people who do work with the grammar school, which I think you're very familiar with, the old Paradise Grammar School at UNLV. So yeah, they are involved in the community at large.
How about politically?
Well, I can tell you this. Politically, they're very diverse. They are conservative, they are liberal, but most importantly, they vote. They are active, they write to their senators, they write to their congressmen. They, in fact, are involved in the process. And that's the best thing I can say about this program, is that people, it's not just a matter of being alert. It is, as you say, they are involved.
What do you do to enhance that sort of thing? In other words, do you have a lot of discussions about political issues, et cetera, among them, or do you stay away from those things?
No, no, no. There's no, we do not avoid anything. The only criteria is that everything has to be done in a civil manner. But we encourage every single political viewpoint. We have open discussions, and we have many classes that deal with current events, that deal with things that would encourage people to say what their positions are on various political matters.
So do you also encourage people to get involved politically in the community?
Yes, on a volunteer basis, to work for the candidates of their choice, absolutely.
Are you open to hearing anybody's opinion? In other words, some expert that I might think was extreme, would you invite that person to come talk to your group and get that person's views out, as different as they may be from yours or mine?
We encourage all views, because we don't think that our members can be properly educated, if you will, unless they hear every side of the political spectrum. So yes, we do.
You know, I really appreciate you being here. I've learned a lot, and I wish this program the best, because it's so important to our community. And congratulations on what you've done.
Thank you so much, Jim, and thank you for allowing us to come here and present the program.
Glad to see you, my friend.
My pleasure.